how do you incorporate interactive elements into these live streams? And what considerations are there for doing that at scale and making sure that the experience is good? Like, how do you promote interactivity? How do you promote this engagement?
Well, that's the hardest part, is, when you have 200,000 concurrents or even less on your chat, you're not being able to view any chats, right? You have to use APIs and use tools to get the chat into your engagement piece. I always think it's funny, like every year we goes by, and I think the pandemic pushed us back a little bit on interactivity, but it's so funny, like the number one reason to live stream, right? To not just play back some video is to engage your audience and have them interact with the viewer and the talent, right? And what's funny to me is how scared brands are to do this. And they're just, I mean, the bigger the brand, the more scared they are, right? And fear. I want to bring up, we had a Shorty Award winning 6 camera Twitch stream with Starfish and Madwell. It was for Verizon, was the main client. It's one of the coolest things we've ever done. We did it last year. We basically put this Twitch streamer, Average Jonas. We did a GoPro rig, and it was completely live. And there were like, we built a studio. Well, we didn't, but we had the cameras and did that piece. But it was cool because they had actors as non-player characters that this Twitch streamer could go and talk to. And it was just like, I literally was like, this is what I've been trying to do for 15 years of my life, right? We had 87,000 concurrents. But what was cool is, we built a tool to take the chat so that, he had a progress meter and he had the different things that he could do. So he could choose what to do, and then the viewers could kind of choose for him. And this isn't the only, there's many, many things like this. But again, like what was crazy to me was that it was Verizon and Xbox. So, it was Microsoft, so they were a little bit more like, hey, let's, we're going to do this on this kid's channel. So, we're going to help facilitate this experience. But I think you have to build, we build some YouTube, we take the YouTube API and be able to take the chat out of that and put it into another module that then can do other things, that then can push graphics. I think you have to do a lot of, I think you have to do the engine work on whatever platform that you're going to use, because as you increase concurrent viewers, it is very hard to keep up, and you really need an engine to hold that information and be able to push that out graphically. And you see this, what's crazy is the Twitch streamers alone have been doing this with the OBS plugins and a lot of the streaming plugins, where they're taking this data from all the different platforms and pushing it out as graphics. And it tends to look crazy, little coins and all the things that go on. And TikTok, we just did an MLB home run derby for on TikTok for during the home run derby, and we were trying to kind of replicate a little bit of like a little less of all the different jangly things going on, and trying to be a little more specific about that interactivity. But engagement and interactivity, I feel like it's all, we keep saying it's the future, and so many brands are just afraid to do it, honestly.
Jay, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely building that relationship over time with those brands, like help them understand that, like, hey, maybe you do know what you're talking about, and you can kind of show those successes, and then they'll be more willing to kind of go out on the limb and do some of those more crazy things. And yeah, I mean, definitely what Corey was saying. I mean, utilizing APIs and scaling technologies, to talk about the panel we're on, to handle that kind of load is definitely what you need to do. And those yeah, a lot on-screen graphic elements, thermometer type stuff. That stuff's just really great to show people that you're still connecting. There's a lot of like choose your view type of experiences where like you can show people multiple angles and have them pick what out of those things they can see. And back to your question about like, in that workflow that we've done, that ends up being like a 4K quad feed that we stream and the end users ingest, but don't know they're really watching that type of quad. They're just choosing in like a region of interest around that interface. And so that and then lands itself to, not since we're doing the production, we can build that quad, we can do a 4K full transmission workflow and delivery workflow, and like that's one way that the like end digital experience can, affect all of the video production behind it.
John.
I think, Corey's dead on. When brands are doing anything live, the level of anxiousness and anxiety is off the charts, and rightfully so. They're putting their brand and their name out there in real time to anybody. And I think the early days of this industry were it was newsworthy because of the well-known failures, right? The Victoria's Secret crash, or Oprah Winfrey doing a broadcast that I think failed and didn't make it to the air, and that got a lot of news coverage. And I don't think people have forgotten those types of things that the result that happens to you and your brand, right? They're not going to say, oh, someone didn't have a backup encoder. They're going to say Toyota stream failed. And I think in the pandemic, you saw all these companies went out and got all kinds of funding and try to do shows with music artists, and it was, I think, a failure every week or every other week. So I think this is not easy to do. Brands do have anxiety, but if you can make them comfortable and they get into this business and you do it the right way, the result is pretty significant, and they're pretty happy, and they're going to get into this with some programming and some cadence around how they're going to properly market going forward. And we spend a lot of time talking to people about taking traditional media dollars and putting it into this medium because of the results, and it's again a fraction of what they're spending traditionally, again, but the results more than speak for themselves.